want to get set up, so I do these in 15 to 20 minute stints, and then start naming them and what's in them, because, you know, okay, there we go. Okay, so we're started there. Okay, so I'm going to just copy the thing here and go post it on our group page, which you got to go there anyway to get the pictures. Now computer's working slow because I got to get rid of pictures. I'm always taking screenshots, you know, and stuff like that. And I mean, I am jammed up. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to start doing I'm gonna need somebody to help me. Um who wants to be the secretary? Secretary of the Hoofcast. See, what you do is you just keep slight notes of each 20-minute, 15 to 20-minute stint and what's in that. And then you send me those notes, and then I go to YouTube and I will put on each one what we talked about. See? And
I'm
that
willing.
way,
I'm
huh?
willing to. I'm willing to co-secretary if somebody wants to do like alternating shifts.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, maybe we'll just pick somebody on each shift. That'd be the way. Nobody has to, commit to an all-time deal. At each hoof chat, we'll just pick somebody that is willing to do it for that particular hoof chat. I think that'd be the way to go, you know. And all you got to do is just take little notes. We'll do well, you got two things you got to do. One, you got to set a timer for 15 minutes. Okay? You just take a few notes on what that hoof part of the hoof cast was about. And then when the timer's up, you let me know. And then we sign off on that. We sign out, and in the end, you can send me your notes, and then I'll go back later and I'll put what each one was about, and I'll put these in a playlist to make it easier so people can find out about different things. And then I will monetize all these short videos and I'll become a millionaire. There we go. That's
There
what
you
I
go.
want. All
That
right.
sounds good.
Okay. So, yeah, right. That don't work like that. Yeah. Okay. Maybe if you have a million followers. Now, see, this would be ideal if one of these days, see, I've got to admit to a fault that I have, and I have realized it here in the last several months. I've been thinking about, why couldn't you ever sit down and write something, like you could do a manual or do this or do that? um because I have this fault that whenever I sit down to write something about anything I'm studying, I get led off into details and I learn more, and I can never finish. I can never finish. I can never finish writing. It's but that's what led me to understand this stuff. See? And so I have this like weird perfectionist, got to know every little detail thing. And so anytime I would sit down to literally write a manual or a small book or something like that, I couldn't do it because I would start and then my mind would take me off in another direction that related to it. Okay. But anyway, I just I couldn't do it. It's really, really hard for me to do. So I'm going to try and work on that on myself. Just like you see me, I start things, I go, well, let's do this, but then I can never seem to finish it, you know? So I got a real problem with that. And I've just come to really realize it. So I'm going to try and work on that and at least get something done, something finished, even if it's not perfect, like I'd like to do just a basic introduction to tact for people, for why we are right, and why the hoof care industry is in error due to the history, see, and come from the standpoint of not blaming anyone, not dissing anyone, because we have all inherited this error for 250 years. And so these people go to school, whether it's farrier school or vet school, and everybody assumes they're going to be learning the truth. And I mean, because they pay good money for it, right? But come to find out that the teachings established in the school are based on errors of the first equine anatomists back in the first vet schools that never got corrected and have traveled down 200 and some years, over 250 years. See, so I got this story, and so you probably some of you have heard this. Goes like this. So family getting together for the Thanksgiving holiday, and mother and daughter are in the kitchen, and they're getting the ham ready to put in the oven. And the mother gets the ham and she cuts the end off of it. And the daughter asks, she says, Mom, you always cut the end off of the ham. Why do you do that? And the mother says, well, I don't know. She says, because my mother did it. My mother did it. So I just do it that way. So she says, well, later when grandma comes, we'll ask her. And so later, grandmother comes and they say, and the mother says, Mom, she says, my daughter here was asking, why do you cut the end off the ham? And I told her, well, because you do it. And the grandmother, and so she says, why do you cut the end off the ham? And the grandmother says, well, because I never had a pan that was big enough. You see, that is what you call tradition. Okay, how traditions start and they never get corrected, and people just follow it without question. So nobody has ever really, a few people have questioned what they're taught in the vet schools or farriery, but whenever they questioned, they were what's a good word for it? When you're treated like you shouldn't even be asking a question. See, you shouldn't even ask that, or they're given some lame excuse or something like that. And so people fear asking questions. People fear questioning the authority. Anyway, so I would like to do sections where we're going to do sections where we evaluate hooves. We're going to do a section where we just talk about the anatomy of particular parts. And then I'm going to do sections where it's the history of hoof care. But I also want to get to the place, and I think I'm getting there, where I can simplify an introduction that you could have. I don't want to make promises here, get people hopeful, but where you could, when you're talking to somebody, All right. Um, you would be able to give them like a brochure or a link to a place where there is a video or something that is really simplified that could easily lead them to see that there are problems in the hoof care their horse has been receiving because of these traditions that have been passed down as truth for the last 250 years that have been laming, maiming, and slow killing horses to where they only live part of their lifetime. Now we see domestic horses these days living to a ripe old age, but they don't have to work. Any horse that had to work back in like the 1800s, those horses were barely living out even half of their lifespan. They were like done for by the time they were 12. And it was all because of their feet. So, of course, we don't see that these days because horses are not used for that. But you see it in these event horses. You know, these people that reach the heights in these events, they go through a lot of horses till they happen to find one that can put up with all that abuse, and he just happens to escape some of the treatment that happens to the feet and stuff like that. There's just, you know, all horses don't, their feet don't distort and deform in the same way. All farriers don't trim in the same way. And so eventually you're going to have a horse that seems to escape the major damage being done to their feet. And oh, amazing, that horse becomes a performer. See? So there's more going on here with these feet than we even realize. When it comes to the fact that the configuration of the back of that foot is vital. The configuration of that internal foot and its heels, and then the way that that hoof capsule must grow from that foot, that frog, the position of the heels, the way they grow, the position of the bars, the position of the frog, everything. It is a specific configuration. Oh, just a minute. I got a phone call from a man I married 20 some years ago. I'll be right back. Alrighty then. Okay, so there is a specific configuration to the back of that foot that must be maintained in order for that foot to function correctly. And that foot has to function in a specific and correct way in order to take the weight of the horse and for all the parts going right on up the leg from the deep digital flexor tendon to the ligaments to the joints to the knees, you know, into the shoulders, into the back, into the spine, into the hips, into the head, into the brain, wherever you want. Those feet are vital for everything else on up to function correctly because those feet are the foundation of the horse. When the old English adage proverb, no foot, no horse, is absolutely the truth because those feet and the way they function is so amazingly marvelous that they can give the horse I you know, the horses. Okay, so you hear this still, the mythology about the winged horse Pegasus. Okay, see, they're wrong. That horse didn't have wings on his back. He had two little wings on each foot. See, that's the way I figure the true Pegasus. He has wings on the cartilages, on the back of his foot, two wings on each side, or well, one wing on each side of each foot. And that's his heels. There's where his wings are. There's where his movement is. There's where you get the spring in their step and the perfection of how they move. And that is due to a specific configuration of the back of that foot. And they don't know it. They don't know it. They don't have a clue. They don't even know what the sole really is and is supposed to look like. So if you are not correct on the anatomy and the configuration of that anatomy, in anatomy, configuration is pretty much everything. Your heart is in a specific location and must perform in a specific fashion in order to work with every other part of your body, including the air that you breathe. And so anyway, these are things that people need to know. And so the configuration of the back of that foot, like, okay, so now, okay, come to find out that this deal about frog contact was thought up by Philippe Lafosse in France over 250 years ago, one of the first equine anatomists. And they've been trying to force that on these horses ever since, frog contact. And what's amazing is how all of a sudden the barefoot movement comes up and you got all these people acting like they thought it up, like they invented it and like they thought it up when really they're just plagiarizing that guy. This has been a belief in the vet schools for over 250 years and stuff. But barefoot trimming made it worse because they never looked at any of the horses with heels. They only looked at one horse that didn't have heels and said every horse has to be that way. So forced frog contact. So why is that bad? Because it takes away the function of the foot. And what function is that? Okay, let me show you this video here real quick. See, we got to have this little lecture first. Let me show you this video on the YouTube channel. Let's see, where are you? Go up here to remind you how the frog works. Just a second here. See, you don't trim the heels down to force frog contact because the frog is created and formed to descend, to be flexible, and to descend down to kiss the ground. Now, Dr. Boker, okay, who did not come up with this frog contact thing, this has been in farriery and in the vet schools for over 250 years, okay, he says that you got to trim down the heels till the frog kisses the ground, meaning you have to force frog contact and that pressure builds up the foot. No, I don't. It destroys the foot. And so what the frog really does is wonder where my deal is. Anyway, what the frog really does, and what I'll show you in this video here real quick, is that the frog is made to push down and descend to the ground. Everything in its design is meant to give and to descend down to touch the ground at the same time. The whole time it's being pushed down, it is pushing up. There's a lot of pressure there between the digital cushion, which is fat. If you have any fat on you, like I do, press it. What's it do? Does it push back? The more you press it in, here, this is an experiment for you to do while you're sitting there. Find some fat, whether it's on your thigh or your belly or you know, wherever, and start pressing. At first, there's a little bit of resistance. The more you press it, the more resistance you got pushing back on that finger. And as soon as you remove your finger, boy, that springs right back and it pushes your finger the whole way. Well, you want to know how the back of the foot functions, and has this specific function that only works when you have a specific configuration to the back of that foot and those heels, to the frog and the heels. And so if you push on fat, you just lightly push, like I'm lightly pushing right now. Okay. And I'm thinking about it. So I'm lightly pushing. The more I push, the more resistance I'm getting, and the more pushback I'm getting. Now, if there was something on the other end of that fat, which on me, it's just my gut now. Okay. If there was something else in there, like made of rubber or something pushing back, that's kind of your frog. So you have the pastern descending onto the digital cushion. And then the digital cushion, as it's pressed down, it starts offering more and more resistance and force and pushback. Because then the digital cushion, okay, presses down, it presses out into the cartilages to push them apart so that the pastern descends between them. And then all that and the digital cushion descends onto that hard, rubbery, flexible frog. And everything in that frog and the way it's designed is designed to both give and instantly start pushing back. And so you have the leg of this horse with these tendons stretching up there and all that weight. Like, I don't know how much weight. Have you ever heard that deal where they say, like, you take a woman in a high heel and the very heel, like the woman might weigh 90 pounds, soaking wet. But when she's in that high heel, the weight on that heel, the way that weight is condensed down into that heel is like, something like 500 pounds or something like that. Okay, so you take the horse, okay, at a run and slamming those feet down. Then that whole pastern is descending. That digital flexor tendon is stretching and it's pulling up. But as that pastern is descending onto that fatty digital cushion, and that tremendous force is pressing into that fat, and then that fat is pressing into that rubber, and the whole time that digital cushion and that frog are not only giving, but then they're not only giving, but then at the same time they are pressing and pressing up as well, putting this tremendous amount of force back up as it's being pushed down. And in this way, this is how this foot functions. And this is what gives the horse the spring in his steps. And this is what protects his tendons and his joints and his bones, because you never have this bottom out. See, it's like shocks on a car, the suspension system. The suspension system, I don't know if you've ever been in a car where the shocks were shot and you go over a bump and you just, boom, you bottom out. I had a whatchamacallit, little car, little Geostorm, and the struts and shocks are the same. They're part of the main suspension system. They not only keep you from bottoming out and give you a smooth ride, but they help you keep control of the car. Okay? Because if you didn't have them, your car would go out of control. And so the struts on the back of my car, which is like shocks, okay, they had gone out, meaning they had no more hydraulic lift or spring in them. They were just, you go over a bump and you just boom, like that. And so I was going down the highway about 65 miles an hour, and it went over this bridge. And you know how when you hit a bridge, there's a little bump, it goes kaboom. And then you go over to the other side, it goes kaboom, like that. Well, I went over that kabump, and then I went over the other kabump, and the car, I lost control of the car. The car went over on two tires on the, like the it was literally on its side almost on two tires. Well, it was on two tires. Both the tires on the passenger side came up off the ground. I was going down the highway sideways. You know what I did? Next day, I went and got struts put on that car because I didn't know you could be so out of control in a vehicle without the proper suspension. And so that's what this frog, there used to be a commercial, Tiger Paw tires. I think it was, the saying was on them, where the rubber meets the road, because these tires supposedly gave you such a great ride. And so that's what the frog and the digital cushion working together are. That's where the so-called rubber meets the road. That's where your suspension is, and that's what protects and makes everything above it function correctly. And when it comes to anatomy, we know that if your anatomy isn't functioning correctly, it's going to hurt you. So anyway, I was going to show you this video of the frog functioning correctly. Let's see here. Understanding the true, let's see here. I'm going to have to type it in because let me get a new share here. New share. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I got to type in how the frog works because I don't know where the videos are. Let's see, where's a search? Here we go. Okay, frog function. The frog stay, the most vital part. See, I got lots of videos on that. The truth on how the digital cushion really works. I got a number like the frog stay, the most vital part of the foot's anatomy. The true foot of the horse soaring, having a correct frog and digital cushion, the key to soundness. And then this one, the truth on how the digital cushion really works. Let's see, internal foot of the horse, that shows you there too. Yeah, I think I've done a lot on that. See, hoof chat anatomy in 6D for true form and function. See, function is vital, but we got to know how it functions. How is it supposed to function? So we're going to go into this, and I'm going to say, okay, now let me move some stuff. Okay, so here's your hoof capsule. There is your frog stay. Now, what we're looking at here, that's not actually the frog stay. We're looking at periopal right there. But the frog stay is right behind it. Okay? And so I just want you to look at how this is made here. It is made to descend. Now, you can go and watch the whole videos. I would go and watch all these videos. I've learned a lot even since this video, because I did not realize in this video that her heels were still not quite restored. When did I do this? Well, that was 5 years ago. I've learned a lot in 5 years. So let's just go here. Okay, right here. Watch this. Now, what I want you to imagine is the foot is in here, and the pastern descends onto the digital cushion, and then the digital cushion looks at this. Look at this under here. You know what? You got, and I would have too at one time have said, oh my goodness, those heels are too long. There's no frog contact, right? Well, watch this. See how that presses down? It's made to do that, people. That's what it's for. It's made as part of the suspension system so that your horse isn't pounding out, bottoming out, so that the deep digital flexor tendon is not doing all the work. Okay, so let's advance here a little. Okay, so now come here. Okay, so here's your frog stay right here. That is the frog stay. Now, if you have heard people call it the frog spine, it's because they saw it on a hoof capsule on a horse that had totally contracted bulbs and heels, to where the bulbs were so smashed together it couldn't grow between them. There's no such thing as frog spine. This is the frog stay. The frog stay is not up here. Okay. I have a reason for saying that, because somebody is teaching, some famous person is teaching that up here at the apex of your frog, it's the apex of your frog stay. No, this would be if the frog stay had an apex, which is the front of it, it would be right about here. That would be the apex. This is the frog stay. This up here is the apex of the frog up in here. How ridiculous. Anyway, so let's just keep going here. And so we look at the foot here. Okay, so here's your horse's foot. Every horse's foot is just the same anatomically. It has the same exact needs. It has the same configuration of all this part of the foot, of the whole foot. The only difference is size. Size. That is the main difference. Okay, so let's see if we can get. Okay, so the frog stay grows from this area here. Now, the periopal should only cover the back of the foot. That's it. It shouldn't be under the foot. It shouldn't be growing in the frog stay. But when the heels are trimmed out, it can grow in and over the area that should be growing frog. Okay, so now I want you to see that you got all this space in here. If there is no frog, or if the frog is stripped out, then what happens as the heels are trimmed out, the capsule gets smaller, the heels get pushed up and crushed, and this whole area can simply be spun into here. And in fact, this area that grows the periopal over the bulb, it can just be twisted right into here like that. And that's one of the ways, and all this cartilage and digital fat and everything, it can all be spun in, spooled in, compressed, pulled down, pulled under, and jammed into a hoof capsule up to almost half its size. And so, Kay, that's what you're dealing with right now. You got a pony that's got canned feet. Well, part of what's happened to him is the whole back of his foot has just been curled in. The front of the foot, the coffin bone, has been pulled down, and the way that the foot deformed, it then grew a can-shaped capsule. So let's see here. Let's go on. Let me see what else I got here. Okay, so I do a lot of, okay, so here's underneath. Now look here. Here's the periopal that should only cover the back of the foot. Well, this whole thing can be pulled in, spun in, your heels curled in, the whole thing into a smaller capsule. Let's go some more, see what I got here. Now, let's see here. Let's see what I'm doing. I'm sure I'm explaining something here. I want to get the part where I show you where I put the foot in the capsule and show you how these two things work together. Now, I want you to see this foot right here. This is what they are teaching people in barefoot trimming to do to their horses, that they're supposed to walk on their bulbs right here. They're not supposed to walk on their bulbs. Their bulbs are supposed to be up off the ground. And the only reason they can get them to do that without drawing blood in the heels is because as you trim the heels out, as you trim the heels of the capsule out, what happens is it begins to crush the inner heel up into the foot and pull all this down and under it. So let's go here. Okay, so I'm going to put that in, put this foot. Now, see, this foot is not right, and I did not realize it at the time. These cartilages are still pulled down. Now, this was a foot off my mare. Let's see. Come on, annotate. I'll show you something. All right, so you see, here's the coronary band. It's going down like this, and it's wrapping around the back of the foot. So she only would have had a little bit of buttress, about like that. In truth, that coronary band should have come out like this. Like this, and she should have had heels like this. That should have been right there. That would have been her buttress. Right there. And this cartilage here would have extended, well, more like that. Okay, let me undo that there. Okay. Okay. Da, da, da. Okay, so we're going to put the foot in the capsule. There we go. See? It's just a shoe. Okay, now you see how that frog stay has to fit up in there to keep those bulbs apart. Now look at watch when I press, I'm not very strong. So you see how I'm pushing that pastern down? You see how it loads onto the digital cushion here? It's hard to do, but see how it pushes down on the frog stay? Now, when you push down on this, it pushes into these cartilages here on the side and it spreads them apart, and it becomes, now what's a good word for it? Well, as you're pushing down on it, it just becomes more dense and stronger and more compact. Yeah. Where'd you go there, Linda? Let's see here. Let me go up here. Anyway, I'm showing there how that frog descends. Frog descends the ground. You don't lower the heels to put the horse on his sensitive bulbs. Let's see here. See, anyway, I just explained some things and show some things in this video. And so I've learned some since then. I'm measuring heels here. Let's see if I got some more where I show how that foot presses down. You see how that's supposed to give? All this, again, this pastern descends onto this, which then descends onto the frog. And then that fat becomes compressed. And when you compress that fat, it gets real strong and it's pushing back. And it's interesting. You put your finger in here and you can feel it all push down right there. And so this is how the horse's foot is supposed to function. And without that, they just bottom out, and that it tears up their tendons, it tears up their knees, it hurts their back, it affects everything. Okay. All right. So anyway, so you can go watch those videos and maybe you come up and see some ideas of your own on how that stuff works. Let me see. Well, this was the latest video, which was made several years after that one. Let's see here. Skip. Okay, so this was a better foot. This is a rear foot. And again, I want to remind you. So this foot is not skinned. So this is the skin. This is the color of the horse's skin right here, just like this. And so when you take this foot out here, it's skin. It's covered with skin that's the same color. But that skin, this skin grows hair. This skin right here grows this periopal skin. Okay. And the skin under that are, well, the right here where the coronary band is, that grows the hoof wall. So, and the bottom skin looking the same, what's it grow? It grows the sole. And the skin covering the frog corium, what's it? It grows the frog, and it grows all this in one piece. And the back of this foot, this inner foot, is a specific configuration. And we grow the capsule, and the horse would like to grow its own capsule to form, fit, and support the specific configuration of the back of this foot. It's not about heel height. It is about proportions, correct anatomical proportions that are within this foot that must be recognized, and then to help the horse restore them and maintain. Because see, the back 2/3 of this foot being cartilage and fat, it has to have the hoof capsule to maintain its shape, and it has to maintain its shape to maintain its true, correct function. And I want you to just look at it's amazing, amazing. This foot just blew me away. So none of this periopal was growing over the frog. It was covering the back of the foot right where it should be. Look at this arch. Look at this arch that's built into the frog. Okay, everything about this is meant to push out and to push down while at the same time forcing itself up. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. Oh, well, we're gonna put it in the, how long were these? Oh, see, this was only 5 minutes. Okay, so here it's showing, see how the pastern descends and see how the cartilage is spread apart there? Okay, now you got these barefoot horses walking on their bulbs like that because they're taking the heels out. Now look at that frog stay. Now that is a frog stay. That was a frog stay. And then you have these creases here so that you, just the way it's built to give and press up at the same time. So let's go here. Yeah, I loved dissecting this foot. And again, if you get a chance to do a dissection, then set that foot and you take the hoof capsule off. Take that foot, put your finger right in there, and then press down on that pastern and see how it feels. You know, now again, look at the frog stay. This would be a correct frog stay. The one in my mare, well, it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best either. And this horse could have had more heel. He could have had more heel. I got this foot from a barefoot trimmer. The only reason the heels were not trimmed out of the back of the foot is because he had a big, thick frog. So they never totally trimmed out his heels, but they trimmed out the heels completely on the front feet. And that horse was major foundered and deformed and distorted in the front feet and lame. And that is due to trimming the heels out. Some of these horses, they escape the brunt of it if they have any frog depth, because then their heels, when they're trimmed, are just kind of brought down to the level of the frog. But over time, these back feet would have done the same thing. If the he kept taking the heels down, kept taking the heels down, kept taking the heels down, gradually would have pulled all this down to the ground, would have stripped out the frog stay, would have started creating a situation of mechanical laminitis that could have been blamed on diet when it's the trim. So we're going to see this here. Okay, look at that. That was hard to push down with my thumb. Now, here we go. Watch this. This is true function. So far, this frog stay ain't giving a whole lot yet. But you imagine, you ever seen horse in slow motion or a picture of a horse setting down on his foot when he's at a run, and how this pastern goes down so far that it almost touches the ground. See there? That is true function. Look at how the frog is descending. All right, how you have this suspension. Now, if you come and you trim these heels out, that takes all that away. Plus does a whole bunch of other damage. You know, they always want to take a credit card and scoop the quarters and shove something under there. Well, maybe you need to start shoving something under here. I'm pressing down as hard as I can. See, now that's all loaded under pressure, and it's all pushing up at the same time it's being pressed down. Now, do you see how that would help your deep digital flexor tendon? See, that what you're seeing here, true form and function of the horse's foot. You know, would have been, as I say, even better if he would have had some more heel and some of the back of this corrected a little bit. And one way you can tell is that the foot, as it sets normally from here to here, you see this part right here. Well, that was attached to this here. Okay. And so the heels were a little too low. And so really this part here should have been up here. And then that foot would have been pretty much 100% correct. But again, people, trimmed out some of that heel and it pulled this down to here. But this is where the foot wants to be. This is where the foot wants to be. And this is what Xenophon, that general back that lived 100 years or whatever before Alexander the Great, okay, and did amazing feats. And he wrote that treatise on horses, on how to choose a war horse. And he said that they should be, the first thing you look at is their feet. They should be high in front and high behind. That means the hairline. Here, you look at the side of a foot, the hairline's high, like so. It's not like at a triangular level, 30 degrees. He said the hairline high in front, high behind, with the frog well up off the ground. See, he said those that don't, those who walk basically on their bulbs are like crippled men who are walking on parts of the anatomy they should not be walking on. So look at that. It's amazing. It's amazing. See, I'm explaining here. If they want you to take the heels off to there and set them on their bulbs so that they're walking on their bulbs. Again, what is this? It's a foot. This capsule has to have a specific configuration so that it will support the back 2/3 of this foot in the right way so that it functions correctly. Let's see what we got here. Anyway, so you see, it's just a shoe, people. It's just a shoe. And look at the color. Once the blood comes out, this is the color of the skin. Now that is just that is pigment. That's all. But the skin color here, same as the leg. Leg grows hair. This part grows the hoof capsule. That's all. And so every horse's foot is the same. All right. Okay, well, enough of that. Now we'll get into other stuff. We're going to end this video here. Did anybody take notes on what this is about? We went beyond 15 minutes. I know that. How long did we go? What time is it? About an hour. Okay, so we're just going to title this video about what? Function. Correct anatomical function of the equine foot based on, heel length and all that. I got this stupid thing that just popped up and I don't know how to get rid of it. Go away. There we go. Okay, now something else wants to pop up and I'm getting rid of you too. Okay, just a minute here. Okay, so I'm going to end this one Facebook live stream, stop live stream, and we will continue our hoof chat part 2 for May 21st. We're going to be doing an evaluation on a canned foot pony. All right. So, but we'll keep this part so people can just learn more about form and function of the horse's foot and keep it to an hour so that we don't totally burn you